Hi everyone and welcome back. I hope that you're feeling really wonderful today. I'm coming on to talk about the July 10th new moon in Cancer, which is going to be a really interesting, great, powerful resetting moment astrologically. I hope you're all feeling really well today. I'm coming in and I'm talking about this during the waning moon. So I'm filming this video on July 6th. And I felt strongly that I needed to talk about this transit because this is one of really the most potent waning moons that I've felt in a long time. And knowing that, I feel that it is an indication that this new moon in Cancer coming on is very likely going to also be super potent. So I always like this time of year with new moon in Cancer because the moon is at home in Cancer. So we have a very homey new beginning that can happen during this time of the year. It's very easy to heal with new moon in Cancer. It's really a wonderful time to set new plans into action, and it's a great time to have a cellular turnover, any type of healing or regeneration, closure, emotional healing, emotional rejuvenation is best timed now, okay? So let's talk all about this in this video. I'm going to talk about some intuitive messages that I have just about this particular new moon in Cancer, and then I'm also going to talk about some of the astrology happening concurrently and moving on. So just intuitively, we have it from every single direction right now. There is no covering our eyes, blindfolding ourselves. Eight of Swords type of energy is just not possible right now. We cannot repress emotions. We cannot pretend that problems don't exist. We have astrologically activations in almost every single house, okay? It's even more expanded than the fan energy that was here in May and June. It's a very dynamic, comprehensive energy as we have, I guess already speaking a little bit astrologically, nodes in Sag, Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Chiron in Aries, Uranus in Taurus, North Node in Gemini, Mercury in Cancer, Sun in Cancer, Venus, Mars in Leo. All that is not occupied is Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. So we are just being challenged in the very obvious aspects of our lives, in what we know that we want to do with our life force energy, in what we can no longer hide from ourselves. Truth is very difficult to hide from right now, okay? So if we have a tendency to be in denial, if we have a tendency to pretend that certain problems don't exist, I feel that these personality types are most challenged right now. I've actually been feeling that for a few months, but it's getting more and more to a head, okay? We have a lot of retrogrades, and we have basically, again, focusing more just on the new moon and Cancer aspect of this, a chance for a totally new beginning to at least be conceived at this time. There's a conception, there is a gestalt that starts right now, and we have to make sure that we are contributing to this gestalt phase. So just like with pregnancy, okay, it's important that during a pregnancy that the health of the body is thought about, okay? There are certain things that we can't partake in. There are certain things that are not possible during a phase like that. And that is what this energy is like. This energy is like the energy of pregnancy, okay? Like parenthood as well. It can be most likely motherhood, but there's also a fatherhood component to Cancer energy too. Different astrologers have different theories about Cancer energy being maternal or paternal, though the more popular theme is maternal. But as you might have seen, like some parental relationships are not conventional. So sometimes the father can be the nurturing role, and sometimes the mother can be the disciplinary role, in which case you would see the mother more so being on the Capricorn side and the father more so being on the Cancer side. It just depends on the personality dynamics. So I do think family is really coming up here. It's a really good time to start a new type of relationship with your family, to either rebuild a familial relationship or to also modify a familial relationship so you can establish healthy boundaries with this new moon in Cancer. You can also advocate for yourself. You can really show what you are providing, not only maybe to your family, but to people that you consider family. If you're not maybe being acknowledged for your worth, as I feel is very prevalent right now, I think there is a big taking for granted, basically spelled out in the transits right now. I think that many of us aren't actually looking the direction where our abundance lies. Okay. I think that many of us are trying to create it out of nothing, or are trying to pursue things which have no connecting points, and also not reaping the benefits of what we actually have. There's kind of an idealism right now. There's an idealism within the void. Jupiter retrograde in Pisces and moving back into Aquarius. We have an idealistic perception about something we've never experienced before. The experience even of a new sense of dis-ease or illness can actually start to become idealistic at this time. Likewise, a new health regimen or the process of getting healthier can also become idealistic and actually concentrated or intensified in a way that it becomes detrimental. So we can become too connected to a detox diet. We can become overly obsessed with fasting or something that is actually a self-deprivation. That's sort of the dark side of Cancer. Positive Cancer energy is about knowing the alchemy of your body. It's about giving your body exactly what it needs, and also birthing new ideas, or also, having children. That is what Cancerian energy is about. When it is in its dark side, though, it becomes about basically self-destruction. Okay, so it becomes not knowing it, but actually over-medicating yourself with something, putting too many, overeating, eating disorders, any type of bringing into the body that is not actually good for you, which can go so many different directions, but also just psychologically as well. You can see, paranoia or any type of thought process that is taking away from the self, like convincing yourself you've done something wrong when you haven't, pushing yourself down to make other people feel, higher. Okay. That is also possible with this new moon. And I think that we have to really get clear with ourselves right now. If we want to feel that we have health at this time, we have to maybe give ourselves that karmic rebalancing, that karmic neutrality. What do I mean by that? I'm actually going to be talking all about karmic rebalancing in the next T-Chat on Patreon. I'll link that below, but we'll go more into that there. But basically, there is a bit of a blank canvas right now, if we would like to have that. I mean, actually, many of us can totally start over or have some type of restart at this time. I'm seeing some people quit jobs. I'm seeing some people go into new fields. I'm seeing also some very brave-hearted people trying to do all of the above, like keeping their current status quo and also introducing new cycles, which takes a lot of strength and power. If you're in that place, do think about building up your endurance, and do think about the sort of homeostasis required within the body to actually participate in that and not fall into mediocrity. Okay, so that's another thing that I'm seeing with this moon. Some of us are reevaluating our standards, okay, when it comes to identity, when it comes to what we're participating in. I think that many standards have changed. Some of us no longer support what we've been involved in. Also, some of us are becoming more fond of a previous cycle or something that we used to do. Like, wow, I didn't know it at the time. I hated it at the time, but I realized that if I would have continued with that, I would be much more happier in my current context, or it would be much more building toward what I always needed to do. That is a very subjunctive experience to be having right now. And to a degree, it's not necessary to go into these things like, if I had done this, I could be here. I mean, why do that? That's so counterintuitive to getting to where you want to be. There's a new relationship with the present coming in also with this new moon in Cancer, and basically a new way of emoting as well, a new way of generating energy through how we emote. You might have noticed, but many of us just don't have the appetite for drama anymore. Like many of us don't even want to have that closure, don't even want to talk about those old wounds, don't even want to hash it out over and over and over again with people. I'm seeing a lot of people who tended to be that way. Lots of water signs, Scorpios, even like Aries and Leo and Aquarius people who used to really have a lot of penchant for going through the depths and going through all of those like hardcore, painful, shadowy experiences. And now that patience just isn't there, and they're starting to replace that with, yes, more materialistic things, more health-oriented things. But what I would say, and how that relates to this new moon in Cancer, is that you want to maybe meet that halfway. Okay, so July 10th, moon goes into Cancer, new moon. It's very dark outside, at nighttime during the new moon. Maybe we can think about this as like the night falling on a previous time where we were so perhaps addicted to some type of emotional stimulus, or so non-self-sufficient that we had to have others answer questions for us to pass the time. Maybe that has gone dark now. Maybe the sun has set on that era, or maybe it's not even that. Like generally there's a sun setting on some type of era with this particular moon cycle. And what is that? Can we use this new moon, July 10th, even July 11th, to meditate a little bit on what has gone dark, on what is no longer really what our life force energy is going to? I think that's probably the most important thing, is to hold space for the knowing that there are new cycles to take on now, that the previous hyper-emotional context is no longer available. It has faded. It has gone. So for those of us who might have struggled with any type of previous, emotional vampirism, or had to always have that, always looking for a fight, always looking for an emotional stimulation, always looking for that's difficult if we haven't already naturally wanted to come out of that. If we've already naturally wanted to come out of that, it's very relieving, because I think that the universe gives that at this time. Last thing I'll say about the new moon in Cancer before we talk a little bit more about other astrology is that we have to know what we need. We have to know what our needs are. Okay? And this is tricky right now. This is tricky because a lot of us are tricking ourselves up with things like money, things like status, things like long-term trajectory. And we're trying to basically, like when cement fills in a foundation, it's like we are so structured that we're just trying to fill in our lives like that in such a rigid way, and it's like it's immovable later. So with that, knowing that that's sort of the energetic thing, that's the psychic image that I'm seeing right now, is like a foundation being filled in with cement, liquid cement. What happens then is that dries and it's set for a long time. So we want to make sure that we're filling with liquid cement the things that we do want set for a long time. There's longevity being created here. There's long-term momentum that's very difficult to disrupt being created here. So as we know that, we can kind of create a lot of different options for ourselves. We can create, multiple businesses. We can create different plans, different jobs, different connections that sort of cement a flexibility. But the people who really thrive are the people who've just given themselves what they needed already, and who have already committed to those types of trajectories to the degree that they're just happy to know that it's getting filled in now, and that it's almost a relief that there's not so much unevenness, or that they're not building on uneven ground. Okay. It's a bit arbitrary. I know water moons are always like kind of elusive to a degree, and it's not so tangible. But I would, especially if you're getting to this video before the new moon, like July 7th, 8th, or 9th, that's the most powerful time to have a dialogue with yourself about your needs. That's a really prevalent opportunity to know it truthfully, okay? To know the truth about that. And I would consecrate it to some degree or celebrate it during the actual new moon. Like, wow, I actually know what I need now. I actually know the only option. I was fooling myself the whole time when I was giving myself 25 different options within this one question and answer, and really complicating it and making something so much more dimensional and complex than it ever had to be. I now know the linear path through this turmoil, and now it's up to me to walk that. And that's one of the most empowering, stabilizing notions that we can come to this year. And this particular new moon is one of the most opportune to have that. So that's really beautiful. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about other astrology. So I'm going to be making some other standalone videos this month. I'm going to be making a video about the Venus-Mars conjunction happening in Leo, which is going to be a beautiful, beautiful time. Be sure to hit that red subscribe button below and turn on the bell notifications for when that video comes out. But yeah, we have Venus-Mars conjunct in Leo happening right after this new moon, and it translates. And I'm thinking that a lot of people are meeting new people. It's a great time to form a new relationship, to make new friends, to understand who your group is. Like, who are my people? Who are the people I can trust? Who are the people who are also not super dark or deep or disorienting or crazy? You know, like this is a very good time to actually meet sane people. Interesting, right? It's a very good time to meet people who will not betray you. Okay, knock on wood. It's a good time to meet people who are solid. Okay. Which is also showing me like a lot of boredom for some people, because, you know, so many people are just so dialed in to having these chaotic relationships. It's become its own, like, I don't know, it's just become its own thing. Like, how many chaotic relationships can I have? How many, you know, how much dissension can I sow in my life? So if you've been wanting to meet some stable people, now's a good time. Also very attractive. You know, Venus, Mars, and Leo is one of the best traditional astrological combinations for, you know, nice aesthetics, good-looking experiences. So yes, I'm thinking new hairstyles, new clothing, anything that's an aesthetic change is very well timed over over the rest of July, actually. And the other thing that I want to talk about in this video, it's important. Okay, we have a major T-square between Saturn, Uranus, and then the Venus-Mars conjunction in Leo. And this is strongest, like, actually right as I'm filming this video and leading up to the new moon. It actually starts to break up a little bit and move out of orb by the time the moon joins Venus and Mars in Leo. So by July 12th, this is already still in, but not as strong. But this T-square is laborious, okay? To me, it's like labors. It's like birthing. It's like that's what a T-square in astrology is like, especially with these planets. It's like the process of giving birth. So I think collectively, we are going through that, like labor pains. Like, we are experiencing a rebirth right now, absolutely. And it's not one of those like frilly, sort of nice to talk about, fun, enjoyable, ooh, wow, a rebirth, a transformation. This is like maybe more of a, you know, difficult labor. Okay. So I think that everybody can relate to some degree to having created something new, to having conceived of some type of new idea, and that it now might be coming into the world, or that it now might be coming in a way where it has its own autonomy. That's the thing about like the birthing process. We don't really talk about this, but we're actually creating something that is not totally under our control, that will eventually have its own autonomy and be its own living being. So keep that in mind. Any business that you create now will have its own autonomy. Any new pursuit, any new journey, any new relationship, to a degree, is going to be its own entity and have its own sort of living, breathing worldliness. And I think that this is actually very good for us down the line. But right now it feels really difficult to accept that we're not totally in control of what we've created, that we're not totally, you know, in control of another person's autonomy. The control freaks of the world really struggle right now. Really one of the hardest times I've ever seen for people with control issues, for people who get freaked out if they don't have like everything under their hand, puppeteering everything. So if you're someone who can release and allow for the intervention of the universe, if you can trust that the animation around you is not going to betray you, very easy, very attractive, very nice time. But yeah, if we are afraid of the way that the world breathes, if we are afraid of the way that nature breathes, we don't breathe for it, it breathes on its own. If we don't breathe, nature doesn't stop breathing. Okay? Kind of crazy words, I know, but it's kind of an important thing. We are like kind of one with nature, yes, but it has its own life. Okay? So we have to understand that with everything, relationships, jobs, health. We are interacting and creating within a living being. And that's why people with control problems struggle so much in their lives, because they try to account for too much. They try to control something that is out of their control, and they basically create such a self-destructive loop by not taking comfort in lack of control. I mean, it's in this paradigm, I think it's one of the most comforting things to know that, hey, I didn't make those calls. Hey, I wasn't the one who authorized that. Hey, I wasn't the one who initiated that breakup or that relationship. I didn't do that. Like, it's kind of not to inspire too much passivity, because I also feel that that's a problem right now. I feel that people are very much, to a degree, can be overly docile or passive right now too, okay? When they may need to take some type of action. But what I will say is that that is in a way good, okay, with certain very, especially like gratuitous things in life, or things which we are not responsible for. It is sometimes very comforting to be like, hey, it's not my call. Hey, I don't have control over that person. I also may not need to be liable for what that outcome is, okay? That's a very nice train of thought right now. If we want to be in control of something, are we also prepared to assume the liability of its outcome? Okay, some of us are not. Some of us want the control in the moment, and then we want to be gone when that outcome actually comes around. And that's something I feel that the universe is very focused right now on neutralizing, okay, and nullifying to some degree. So what that means is that if you're in that place where you like to really have a lot of control and then step out when the result comes around, that would basically probably result in just a lot of time alone, a lot of time walking around and kind of just not maybe feeling like the zest of life, or not really feeling a lot. It's like a nullification. It's like a neutralizing. And also probably, I think about like the alkalinity of the body, acidity, alkalinity, neutralization. I think it's a very good time, kind of moving into a subsequent message that seems to also resonate here. Any type of neutralization. So the neutralization of an overly acidic body. Okay, maybe there's also like bad alchemy in your car or something, and it needs like more oil. Like, I feel that now is also a time to achieve a good alchemical balance, right? As it seems that the universe is also really working with this too. Like, the universe is really focused on, why is it that some people want to be in control of something yet not be there for the outcome? Like, what imbalance is creating that drive? Because the reason why we want to do things in life, the reason why we feel a need to exist as a catalyst, is to have the outcome, is to experience that larger transformation. And I'm seeing a lot of people, and this is pretty wild stuff that I've not heard or seen anywhere else. So I'm kind of introducing something totally new, which is kind of cool. I'm seeing a lot of people not connect to it, to lose that connecting point. Like, okay, I want to be the catalyst, but I don't want to be there for the outcome. I don't know if this is maybe some type of like narcissism. It's not really the right word. It doesn't quite encompass all of this, but I suppose to kind of look the part and then not really be there for the outcome kind of falls into that category, but it's not quite that, okay? It's more of a want to experience the self, a want to experience the self as a catalyst, but only to want that and not to really want the outcome. So another example is to like create a very successful business, and just as it gets off the ground, to no longer want to be involved in that. Just as it becomes successful, just as you've catalyzed and created that transformation in your life and within the world, to want to step out of it right when it becomes stable. Okay. That's an example. Another example would be to commit to a long-term relationship and to push really hard for that relationship to get stronger and stronger. Though when marriage is proposed, to suddenly feel off-put, though you wouldn't feel off-put if marriage weren't proposed. Do you get the common theme in both of those examples? It's the fear of the outcome of what we push for. It's the fear of gravity. Okay, it's like it's like jumping off the waterfall and expecting not to land in the water or something, or expecting to be back on the ledge. It's like a betrayal of physics. So I do feel that some people are in that right now, and how you can remedy this situation is to observe gravity, get a ball out, like drop the ball onto the floor. What happens? It's almost like we have to watch these very mundane things, like what happens when you apply the brakes in your car? What happens when you apply the gas? Like some of us are just thinking so hyperbolically at this point that we're so disconnected from the physical world and its, I guess, parameters. Okay. So physicality is good. To me, it just reeks of like ungroundedness, like being so in the crown chakra that we just are almost like disconnected from the real world. So spending time with the real world is great. Spending time with other humans is also really great, because the messages are just coming and coming and coming today. But something I've also seen, and maybe this is because it's this waning moon cycle and we're about to hit new moon in Cancer, but I've seen just in my own life, like I've been constantly finding myself with people who are expressing some very intense version of what I was also expressing, but by seeing it in them, it healed it in me, because I couldn't see that I was getting there to that exact same point. And had I gotten to that exact same point, I wouldn't have realized the folly of it without seeing it in another person. So the universe is very quick right now to just pop people in our lives and to just set people down, set experiences down as examples, as synchronicities, as if we're willing to see it, basically time savers. Okay, like people in our lives can really save us time. Like if we can really care for them and make space for their journeys and their stories, I think that we can learn so much about the choices that we are struggling with in our own lives. I think that the collective consciousness is so strong right now, with Jupiter retrograding right at the cusp of Aquarius and Pisces, with Saturn and Neptune also so advanced. Pluto is moving there too. Like just this time, this, I guess, like 2020's decade of humanity is, I don't think that there's certainly not in any of our lives who are listening to this video, has there been such a time of being able to really synchronize and being able to really individually make progress through the examples of others, through the experiences of others. I think social media also really helps with this. If you notice on YouTube, you can pretty much access anybody from any field with thoughts or experiences of what that industry or field or relationship or whatever was like. We have immediate access to almost every type of person in almost every type of situation talking about their experiences. And as toxic as I think social media can be, that is something that we perhaps take for granted. We don't have to reinvent the wheel right now. We have the access to the most free information that we may have ever had. All right. So that helps us to define individually, because we don't have to spend 5 years maybe in a career that we wanted to catalyze, because now we can just listen to someone's experience and realize that's not really what I thought it was. That's not really, what my mind was making it out to be. And it leads to a lot of analysis paralysis. I know that's like the downside. It's just like, oh my God, what do I do with myself then? So just food for thought, but I think very perplexing and very profound this time around. Anyway, I hope you're all doing really well. Again, taking it down and grounding it out a little bit. This period of time, July 10th through like July 20th, really, with new moon and Cancer cycle until we build up to the full moon. You know, there's just no hiding from ourselves the truth. There's no denying what we actually really want right now, what our purpose might actually really be. All of that becomes very apparent. And can we provide for ourselves the structure to fulfill our needs and purposes? Okay, the healthy ones, the integrity-based ones. Addictions must be placed to the side. Okay, things which are not any longer representing who we are also have to be placed to the side. And if they are such powerful constructs in your life that maybe you rely on those things as like a job for money or something, they have to at least be known for what they are, as a bridge at this time. So, and not trying to basically turn something into something it's not. Like, even though I don't like this job, I'm going to make it the, apple of my eye, even though I know I don't like it, just because I want that security. Like, that's very difficult. But there's a lot of middle ground with it, like to the degree where it's like, I know that it's not my forever, but like it's also helping me in certain ways, and I can offset it and complement it, and eventually it all converges into a new purpose perhaps. So there's really no huge mistake, especially if we're trusting in the universe to provide rather than trying to control everything. So happy Cancer season, everyone. Happy new moon in Cancer. I hope that you enjoy it. It's a very healing time. Okay. It's a very attractive, beautiful, healing time. We had a nice, long, in-depth conversation about it. This channel is on Patreon. If you guys want to check out the weekly tea chats, I'll be talking about karmic rebalancing and other viewer requests this Saturday on Patreon. So be sure to jump over there and check that out. I also do a benevolence audio stream every month where I talk about some of the overarching themes for the month, and I provide the general readings early and ad-free over there. So it's a great value. Be sure to check it out. And there's other links below. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Subscribe if you're new. And I hope you all have a wonderful time of this new moon in Cancer. I'll talk to you all soon. Have a great time. Bye.